In this video, I'm going to talk you through how to create some simple swatch patterns that we're going to use to create a similar landscape scene that we created earlier on in this workshop. I'm going to use Adobe Illustrator I'm going to do a landscape, but you may choose to do again a floral pattern or another pattern using the same techniques. So I'm going to use a few simple tools on the left-hand side. But the first thing I need to do is to create a new background. So I'm going to go to File and New. Now I'm going to use A4 as a default. Now you can use, if you don't have that as your default, if you go to Print at the top, and you will find A4 as a default here. But if you want to use a different size document, you can just write that in here and click on Create. I'm now going to use my pen tool to create some very simple patterns. Now my pen tool, I've just looked down on my stroke and my fill, is currently set up as a black line and a white fill. Now I don't want any fill attached to this, so I'm just going to bring that to the front by clicking on it and then click on None. So I'll then bring my stroke to the front by clicking on it, and I'm now just going to double click and select black. You might select a different colour, that's up to you. But for the time being, I'm just going to stick with black and white. And I'm going to click on OK. So I'm now going to click and plot a simple triangle. So if I click and click and click to plot, and when I'm finished, you can see my handle is still attached. So my stroke, it can continue on, but I want to finish it there. So I'm going to click P on my keyboard and that will detach it. I can use my selection tool to select it. And I am just going to increase the thickness of that stroke. I can do that at the top here using my stroke thickness here, or I can go to my window and strokes window, which I have docked on the right hand side here. So I'm going to just increase that to 3 points. So it's a little bit thicker. I'm then just going to use that pen tool again, and I'm going to click and just delete that, click and click to create a straight line, and again P on my keyboard to complete that. So I just got a simple diagonal line. It's picked up that same weight of line from the last setting I had here. I'm now going to create a zigzag, just again by plotting. Okay, and again P on my keyboard, just complete that. And on this one, I'm just going to decrease the thickness on here, and I'm going to decrease that to a 1 point. Okay. And again, I could do that as random as I like. So again, click and just plotting each time. I can do it as, say, really random. And again, P on my keyboard to complete that. Again, to increase or decrease the line thickness, I just select it, go to my stroke window, and I can play around with the thickness. Now I want these really quite small to create my patterns, so I can resize them quite easily by selecting it using my selection tool and just go into one of the corner handles. That allows me to drag. Now, if I click with Shift on my keyboard, it will drag that proportionally. If I want to increase it, again, I can just drag and holding Shift on my keyboard. If I let go of Shift, it allows me to stretch it and distort it. Okay, so deselect that. I'm now going to use my shape tools. Now you might see yours as a rectangle tool. On top, I'm going to start with the rectangle tool here, and I'm going to simply click and drag. And that creates me a simple rectangle. If I want a perfect square, I click and drag using my Shift key at the same time, and I get a perfect square. Again, I'm going to do that same. I'm going to click holding my Shift key and create a perfect square. But this one, I want to have that as a fill and not as an outline. So I'm just going to look down at my stroke and my fill colours, and I'm simply going to say swap them over. So I'll then have no outline and a black fill. So if I just select that again and just swap that over, you'll notice that that becomes a fill colour with no outline. So I'll show you that again using the ellipse tool. Again, if I click and drag, it will allow me to create oval or circle. If I want a perfect circle, again, I click Shift key. And if I want a perfect circle, but with an outline and not a fill, again, I get my ellipse tool. I click and drag using my Shift key. Make sure my circle is selected using my selection tool. So if it's not selected, just click on it and it will become selected with the little handles. I then go back down here to my stroke and fill colour, and as you can see, I've got a fill colour but no stroke, so I'm simply going to click on the swap them over and it will then swap that over. Now I'm happy. That's given me a nice selection of simple patterns that I can use then for my swatches. So I now need to drag these into my swatches window. My swatches window is docked on the right hand side. I just need to bring it to the front. If you don't have your swatches window open, you click on window and again scroll to the bottom and swatches, and that will bring this window up for you. I'm simply going to select them using my selection tool here, and I'm going to click and drag it over into my swatches window, and you'll notice it will drop that in for me. I'll show you that again. So I'm going to click and drag that into my swatches window. And again, click to make sure it's selected and drag that in. Oh, this one didn't go in. I'll show you that again. Click and drag. And again, click and drag. And I'll do that for all of them. And once you feel confident doing this, you can make some of your patterns a little more complex if you want to, by creating more than one line. That one can go in. I'll do that again. Click and drag. Again, that one's not gone in. Just drag that. Oh. Click and drag. And click and drag. Okay, that's all gone in now. As I said before, if you want to make it slightly more complicated, for example, two lines together or two paths together, and select and draw a box over them using my selection tool. And I can then click and drag, and that will make that different pattern. So I'll show you that again. So I can select two of those, and I can then click and drag and put that into my swatches window. So that is the completion of this part of the workshop. Please view the next video to take you through how to create the collage using these swatches patterns.